The new policy. But I'm
I think I'm glad this. I think you It's 5:31. Okay. We'll call to order the September regular scheduled meeting of the Decorah Community School District Board of Education. Note by way of roll call that we have 4 directors present and Director Lang expected to be here shortly. So we start off with 4. Cindy, can you read the mission statement?
Sure. At Decorah Community School District, we embrace student learning and well-being as our fundamental purpose. We will, in partnership with our students, families, and community, make the world a better place. The mission of the Decorah Community School District is learning, thriving, creating a legacy. The vision of the Decorah Community School District is Decorah Community School District will be a collaborative, innovative, learning-centered organization, empowering students to embrace their personal strengths and create their future.
Thank you. Beginning with old business, we have second reading of the voluminous set of new policies courtesy of Iowa Association of School Boards, all kind of following up on the many issues from last legislative session.
Exactly. This is just the recommendation to keep the district in line with the new state laws. The code, of course, was anything in green is new, anything in red is being deleted. I made a new color, and that was just the yellow part. The school teacher librarians and I sat down and just kind of reviewed. This is a little different than what they'd worked on. They actually were working on this in a lot of last year on reconsideration, and unfortunately their hard work kind of had got put to the side because then we had a law that kind of came and superseded some stuff. For example, reconsideration material committees by law are not allowed to have students participate on them, and so that was something that I know in talking to those folks, and I would agree that that would have been something that would have been very good for a high school student to participate in, but that's not, they understand that it's the law and we have to follow the law. So probably the one thing that when we looked down and kind of looked and compared, one of the things was donated materials get reviewed by the board to the board. And so we just kind of talked through the logistics of how that would happen, and sure, we get books that maybe a teacher brings in and says, I've retired, I want to donate this to the school. And they kind of go through and vet those and say which one we're going to add to the collection. So for those, that'll just come to a list to the board for approval. In the event that there's a short time request, something that maybe is donated in conjunction with an author, I would just notify the board if there's not a board meeting in between it. But that was like item number 4, all the way down in policy 605.1 R1. But other than that, the stuff with the gender identity and bathrooms, we've kind of already been working through. So unless there's specific questions, I know we've got lots of stuff to go in the meeting, but I can tell you the big sections, the media specialist, teacher librarians reviewed the media stuff. I worked with Nurse Julie on the health stuff, and then Brad and I communicated on the graduation requirements. This won't change what we have in our handbook, because the handbook I think is a little bit more specific. This is just the general board policy of what you have to have by law.
So note that generally speaking, we typically see two types of policies, ones that are totally discretionary, we can adopt as we see fit, or modify to meet our local circumstances, and this is not that.
Yeah, this was more, that's, the legislative session was more shalls were added than in the past.
Mhm. One thing I did note, there was at one point a time period, I believe, in the harassment or bullying of, which was discretionary. Trying to find
Yeah, I think I identified that as 60 days.
60 days.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good. I think it had 180 originally, and
that seemed like
yeah,
it's like
that's school year.
that wouldn't do any good reporting something at that later date. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had looked through those again and caught a couple things.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
I would just like to express my gratitude to Dr. Cronin and all of our teachers and administrators who spent time. We're in new terrain and it's complicated and takes a lot of time and capacity. So I will, we'll continue to work with administrators and school professionals as things come up in the future, and as the board is presented with books of donated material, to share that responsibility and make thoughtful, considerate decisions.
And we're just going through the second reading of these new policies.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, they have any questions? All right. Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve the second reading of the revised ISD policy.
I so move to approve the second reading and revision of the recommended IASB updates.
More than code 104, it's just all the code. Just update, we need to talk about code numbers.
I think there's so many. I mean, you can read them all if you'd like, but I think we did the first reading as recommended from board policy. Yeah.
Second. Okay. We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Did anything to be withheld?
I did not see anything.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
I second it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consent agenda. We have minutes, personnel listing, salary increases, and bills. Again, I saw nothing requiring segregation. If anyone else did, please speak up. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Yeah, consent agenda.
Second that.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, this is the time for communication from the public. If anyone wishes to speak, did anyone sign in, Darlene? No? Okay. And we will move on to the presentation, which involves introduction of a whole lot of new faces. So, this might take a minute, but that's a good thing. You'd ask, as we go, I don't know, you want to go building by building? Just have, Rick, you want to go first with We really?
I mean, that gives you.
Yeah.
To take a look, it's all over here.
Yeah.
We got a whole big entourage around the corner.
Yeah.
So maybe, West Side John Klein staff, if you are here, you want to step up and carry the lead, maybe we'll do John Klein and West Side first. We'll make it easy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then we'll go to carry the lead.
Tell us your name and, if you've been somewhere else, where you went to college, what your dog's name is.
Unless you have a lot of dogs.
Yeah.
The first two verses of your school fight song.
I'll get first. I'm Jess Tungan. This year I'm teaching preschool and TKPE over at Westside and John Klein for the last 15 years. And so currently I've been at St. Ben's School teaching PE and health. Graduated from Lincoln College. I've got 4 kiddos. My husband Mike is a strength coach. And I'm excited to be out of district. Oh, man.
Okay. I'm Megan Slesser. I teach first grade at John Klein. Let's see, I've taught, this is my 16th year, so I taught 15 years. Most of those 15 have been at Waverly Shell Rock, and the past 3 have been, or the 3 prior to us moving here were in Independence. Let's see, I have 3 kids, current 4th grader here at Carrie Lee, or over at Carrie Lee, kindergartner at John Klein, and then a 4-year-old. And yeah, just excited to be in the district, same as my kids. I'm Megan Reinhardt. I'm a special ed teacher at John Klein and reading and math intervention. I graduated from Warburg. Sorry, we were in Decorah, I would have totally gone. I taught for 7 years in a small town outside of Iowa City called Tipton, and then when COVID happened, my husband's job turned remote, so we moved back to Decorah. I graduated from Decorah. I have a son that's a kindergartner this year, preschooler that is enjoying PE this year at Westside, and a 2-year-old, and my husband coaches basketball in high school.
In all sincerity, welcome to Decorah.
Welcome back.
All right, I think next to Carrie Lee, we'll get you guys, we got a couple people there too.
All right, I'm gonna get started. So I'm Reed. I teach 3rd grade currently at Carrie Lee. This is my 4th year teaching. I've taught in the Des Moines area at Carrie, taught at St. Ben's 1st grade last year. So it's been really great to be back in the area. I graduated, grew up here in Decorah. So really excited to be back in the district again as a teacher instead of a student. And I also went to local college. So, yeah, just really excited to be back.
And you're making me feel very old because I remember you as a 5th grader when my daughter was. Wow.
My name is Savannah Mosback. I teach 4th grade at Carrie Lee. The last 5 years I taught at Pocahontas Area School in the northwestern side of Iowa. We just recently moved here in July, and so I have a husband and a 2-year-old, and I graduated from University in Fort Worth.
My name is Mackenzie Olson. I'm a social worker here at, or I guess chair at Carrie Lee. This is my first job out of graduate school. I went to Winona State University for undergrad and graduate school. I live on a farm with my husband and our 2-year-old also.
My name is Sarah Blake. I'm the third core special education teacher. I have 1 daughter, she's in 7th grade. And I've taught preschool before in Iowa City, and I've taught kindergarten in Manchester. So just excited to be back here.
All right, we're out.
All right.
It's out. Thanks, guys.
Justin, you're up.
Hey, middle school, I think I think we'll be here. We kind of have a shared staff here a little bit, so. Okay, Julie, what?
I'm here. So I work at the middle school and high school. I'm Julie Beebe. And I'm our English learner teacher. So those who don't speak English as their first language, I teach. I'm a Minnesotan, so I'm getting used to gravel roads here, but I've been here for 3 years now, and I worked part-time now in P for a few years, and before that, lived in Rochester, but was in the Dover Yoda. So yeah, I went to school, I got my master's at Winona State in teaching English as a second language, and I also went to UW lacrosse in my undergrad. And I wanted to say thank you for approving those pre-teacher days that they got paid. I really appreciate that for when we were here a couple days earlier than the others. So thank you.
I'm Grace Severson. I'm the sixth grade language arts teacher here. I just graduated from the University of Iowa in May. So yeah, go Hawks. Yeah, so this is my first year teaching, which is really exciting. I also graduated from Decorah in 2019, so it's good to be back.
That's real thing too.
All right.
High school, we had more than two. We have 7 new teachers. One of them was transferred, so we're not gonna count her, but we've got a lot of new faces, and I'll let them introduce themselves. Guy on the first.
Sure, I'm John Frelling. I'm one of the 2 high school social studies teachers, and most recently I taught in Waukon. I was there for 6 years, and this is my 11th year teaching. And I graduated from Luther College, and I'm excited to be back here teaching in Decorah. We have 3 girls between the ages of 4 months and 4, and so we're excited to all be in Taos here.
We miss you, John.
Yeah,
We miss you.
I'm Felicia Young. I do co-teaching in the English department at the high school, so hired in the special department, and I get to go teach with 3 different English teachers and go between 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, so that's been wonderful. I did my undergrad work at Luther, and Decorah kind of hooked me as an Iowan. I left the area for a while to go teach for different public schools. Then I kind of inched my way back. I was in Coastal for 2 years. Then I completely evacuated the K-12 system for a little bit and went to Luther. And I'm really excited to come back and be in Decorah as a teacher again, because I did a little bit of my student teaching here in Decorah. And so that was kind of a fun time. I have 0 children of my own, but I have a collection of nieces and nephews from my best friends that are in the area. And so there are quite a few kids in this school system that I claim as mine. So.
Hi, everybody. I'm Addie Sadler. I'm teaching high school English. So I have 9th, 10th, and then 12th graders currently. I'm a Luther grad. I also went to Iowa State. I'm one of those people that have a lot of like, oh, well, maybe I'll try this. So I graduated from Luther, then went to Iowa State, and I'm finishing up my master's degree currently as well. I have 3 kids in the school district: a kindergartner, a 2nd grader, and a 4th grader. And then I have 4 honorary kids, with my partner Matt, Simon, you probably know, Naomi and Anna and Oscar and Petra. So we all kind of, we have a pretty big family right now living in that house. And I think that's
I'm Don Quincy. I'm the public social studies teacher. I'm teaching American history as well as government right now, and doing a little bit of first skill, life skills, co-teaching that which we got already one of my favorite classes. Just love teaching already so far. Right out of school at St. Ambrose University, so this is my first teaching gig. Other than that, coaching football, looking to coach some other stuff, maybe baseball in the future, just really excited here.
Caleb Barnes, teach business. I graduated from Allen College in Michigan, got a master's degree from Wilmington University in Business Leadership. Prior to that, I was coaching football, college football for the last 16 years. This is my first year teaching. Really enjoying it so far, learning a lot, but great kids so far to work with. Met my wife at Luther College. The last time I was at Luther College in 2013, 2018. Met my wife, she was working there. She's originally from Cedar Falls, so we're super excited to be back in the Decorah area. We have a 2.5-year-old daughter named Annie, and we have a dog named Benji. Who's also excited to be back at Decorah. We love the trails here, so excited to be here.
My name is Amanda Hinker, and I'm the reading teacher at the high school. I was a teacher in the Decorah district from 2005 to 2015, I believe, and then took some time off to be home and work part-time at Luther as an adjunct. Last year, I got switched back into tennis and coaching at the high school girls tennis team, and to help me out there, so that was wonderful. And so I teach 9th through 12, and just work with kids who need a little extra reading support. And so I'm not, with that in mind, I have a master's degree in education, but then I'm starting my reading endorsement. So I'm in my very first class right now.
All right.
And we have same.
I get to be too early for saying we were out. Sorry, Sarah.
It's okay, I'll forgive you guys. I'm Sarah Christopher. I teach over at St. Benedict's, special ed over there. I hail from North Wind out there. I was there for 15 years-ish. Somewhere along there. I took a couple years off, did some kid chaos. I have 4 boys. The oldest is going to be 17 in a couple weeks. I'm down to the youngest, just hit kindergarten over at St. Ben.
Yeah,
All right.
that's it. And we also have Kendall Reagan, who's a new special ed teacher too at John Fine, but I don't think she's here tonight. Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay. Well, it's always exciting to meet the new staff and also exciting hearing how many kids are brought into the district here.
Enrollment numbers.
Yeah. Well, thank you all and welcome and thank you for your commitment to our kids.
And it's also appropriate to say that, thanks for coming, but don't feel obligated to stay for the whole meeting. No, we're not taking attendance or anything like that. Although it'll be a great meeting.
I'll be more blunt, you guys.
Wow.
Something else.
I hope the people on TV know who said that.
Yeah. Okay. New business. We have collaborative 2080 agreements, a number of renewals. Any substantial changes we need to be aware of?
No, I think it's listed as preschool collaborative agreements. That's
Yep.
that's something we do every year. I think those partnerships work well for the district, so I don't need to overtalk that one. Unless you have questions.
Doesn't even have questions.
No, just for the public knowledge, this includes collaborative partners, including Kinderhouse, Nifty Preschool, Northeast Iowa Montessori, St. Benedict's, and Sunflower Child Care Center.
Okay, I entertain a motion.
I still move to approve the preschool collaborative 2080 agreement.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, classified long-term substitute pay.
We have B, the shared special ed,
Oh, sorry.
and this,
Well, my,
so we approved the concept of B last month, so this is just the document that we'll use with Eastern Almaquee on sharing part of Shannon Putnam Dibble as special ed director with them.
And then change it all, we discussed it for the agreement versus the.
No, it's all the same. Eastern Almaquee's pretty pumped, and I think Shannon's also pretty pumped, so. Yeah. And we're pumped as well.
Mhm.
Make a motion, we approve the shared special education facilitator agreement.
I'll second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, now tell us about long-term sub pay.
So, this is just a proposal, so certified staff, if we have a teacher who does a long-term substitute, they would get paid, well, we pay our substitutes $130. Long-term subs, I don't even know, usually the rate is BA plus 0. I'm gonna look to Darlene or Kathy. Do you know what the long-term sub rate is in the district, or do we always just go to?
We go to the salary schedule of where that teacher left.
Okay, so
If they were a BA plus 36, we would go to that BA plus 36.
yeah, it's kind of unique to Decorah. My educational experience is we pay long-term substitute teachers the rate of pay they would earn on our salary schedule. So if they left, if they retired from teacher and they were MA 24, that's the rate we would pay them as a substitute teacher. So with that knowledge, that's just kind of a similar request here to have that apply to classified employees. Specifically in the food service department, we've got a couple of staff who don't want to come back full-time as an employee, but are willing to come back as a long-term substitute. And their request is, could I be paid what I was making when I left the district? Which, since we can't fill the position, and when we do find someone to fill the position, we will just hire that person. So this fills a vacancy, and I guess makes sense to us, but since we've not done that before, we thought we ought to write it up and get it approved by the board. And I'm looking at Kathy because Kathy wrote it up for Chad. Is there anything I missed in that description, Kathy? Okay.
Have to do what we have to do to get the people that we have to have.
Yeah, I think we need to be very conscious that we're paying at a higher level than most schools are. But at the same time, we also conscious that it's really hard to find substitute teachers and long-term substitute teachers, and as well as others in the district. So we think the people in the district that are getting this tug, I think, could be hopefully very happy that they're getting paid quite well.
Mhm.
One thing they're not getting is benefits.
That's right. That's right.
And right now, we do still have 2 open custodial positions. So I don't know how they're trying to fill them with just people or with subs too, but I don't think there are no long-term subs in that yet.
Which buildings are those at?
Middle school?
Middle school and high school.
We should clean up after it's all when we leave them.
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion to approve the classified long-term substitute pay. Second that.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, the parking lot lease extension with the core bank. and-
Yeah, so we went with the bank earlier this year and just kind of, they notified us they want to continue. If we enter into a multi-year agreement, we're supposed to have a public hearing. And so over the summer, we just decided we'd extend it for a year, and we hadn't come back to it because it was on a board agenda. So I just kind of wanted to let the board know that's what the plan is. We can get that cleaned up in the spring of 2024. We currently, they're paying $250 a month to lease the parking lot. Bank seems happy with it, but we'll just formalize it in the spring for long-term lease.
Maybe we should fill in the other details of.
Oh, yeah. So that parking lot is the parking lot that's east of John Klein. And part of the arrangement, the existing kind of expiring arrangement was the bank, and the school district entered into agreement that the bank would, pay for that parking lot to be, I guess, refurbished, constructed, improved. So there's a large financial commitment on the bank's part, and then they have priority during the workday for that lot. And then that kind of becomes overflow parking for us, nights and weekends. And so it's a very mutually beneficial agreement. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that the bank has committed a lot of resources to that parking lot.
And that was a 10-year agreement.
As a 10-year agreement,
Yeah, but they didn't pay anything after they built it for 10 years, and we had to renegotiate the agreement. So we're charging them $250 a month. And they're okay with that.
Yeah. But that's just a discussion. That's not an action item.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to new policy, 501.16, homeless children and youth.
This is just a quick, there's one line, actually one word, so the liaison for the homeless policies, that position was funded by a grant and that person resigned, so now we're just gonna have it be a staff member designated by the superintendent. So we'll look at whether those duties get assigned to one person or multiple people, but lots of districts that could be homeless liaison might very well be a counselor or other positions, but we've got some ideas on who we're assigning it to, but this is a first reading. We're just gonna put a staff member designated by superintendent, so we don't have to keep bringing it back if the position change or the role changes.
And have you talked with school counselors and staff that are serving in this role to gauge like if they have the capacity to share with this responsibility?
I haven't had those discussions yet, so we've talked about it at the administrative level.
Yeah,
So
but just first reading and asking more questions and exploring things at the time to come.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the first reading.
I'll make a motion to approve the first reading of policy 501.16, homeless children and youth.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. We've had tremendous success with our bowling program in the few short years that we've had it. And the numbers are continuing to grow, so.
yeah, so absolutely. So one of the things I'd never been to a high school bowling match before I came here. Let me see, I've been to soccer, so I hadn't been to, there's a couple things that, Decorah just has, we have so many opportunities for our students, and that's awesome. And that connects them to the school, and you go to bowling senior night, and geez, I thought they were introducing everybody on the team, and then I realized they were doing half, and it was like 25 students, but we do use Kingpin a lot, and so there's a request from Kingpin. We had 1 year left on our contract, so to revise the contract with an increased fee, and I'm now looking at Mr. Riley to add in what I've missed in the story here.
We've been able to see and know what the contract is. Last year, they kept track of the number of games, we bowled roughly 9,000 games. With our participation numbers that were there. Part of the contract is we're there on average about 2 hours per day. The goal is to still practice every day of the week. Minus the holiday break and some other stuff where there's some different times off, but usually we're in that 3:30 to 5:30 time slot. And depending on the day, we're usually at 14 lanes that we'll go ahead and use. The different lanes at times we'll use these both on the road. Some of the inputs of the conversation that came along had to deal with Kingpin unsure on what they were going to do for the Mondays. And I worked with Coach Bruning in relation to that, wondering if we wanted to continue to practice on Mondays or not. That was a desire, and we wanted to be able to still continue to have the opportunity to practice on Mondays. With this agreement, they will provide us an opportunity to be able to open just for us, won't be open to the general public for that. On average, we hold 4 to 5 meets per year. And within agreement for that schedule on Friday nights, which creates some challenges in one aspect for them, but a lot of the reason why meets are on Friday nights at 4 o'clock agreed upon within our conference is that a night for many of our bowling facilities where they're not having to meet. Because there's different days of the week where they would actually have leave. So with that, they wanted to be able to run the math and have a conversation with the number of games bowled at a per rate of 9,000 games, and saying we're going to make $1.50 per game, or however they want to be able to look at that number and just like to see the request for the pricing.
And there was a little bit of a small discussion about, well, do we really need to practice on Monday? And I guess I'm being a little funny, but I don't want to have to be the one to tell Keith that we're practicing less.
No, I mean, a lot of it in my role, I'm going to sit down and have a conversation with coaches in terms of how they want to be able to manage the program and there's a feeling that that's important to make sure we have the opportunity and we do that. And I can certainly respect and understand that. I want this to be able to have a daily opportunity to improve, give them what they need as well as the coaches to feel like they can be competitive and be better.
Super dumb question. You talk about, practicing all the time. It's not all year long. It's practically just during the season.
Yeah, November, bowling season actually begins the second week in November, that second Monday. And usually the state tournament is somewhere around that third or fourth week in February, depending on any given year. Obviously, as we get down a little bit later in the year and you begin to hit the month of February, we're not having the whole team practice at that point in time. We're going to certainly make it available for those kids who want to continue to be able to do that. But the total numbers kind of start to blend a little bit like they were trying to before, as far as we were trying to get practice.
I appreciate being provided like the history of engagement since 2016 to today and how much
Bowling center fees.
and how just how engagement has impacted the, contract agreement and the amount that we're paying to the bowling alley. Obviously, we've seen a steady increase up. There's been like, it looks like typically every 2 to 3 years rates increase. I'm wondering if we've reached that plateau. I know the last time that we approved that increase, I thought, gosh, that's a lot of money. And tonight I'm thinking that again, like, gosh, this is a lot of money for bowling. And at what point are we going to see stabilization? I see this, I want to support community partners in an equitable way. And I think that our support for the bowling alley is not only to support Coach Bruning and our program, but also is for economic development for our community to support a local business. Kingpin has obviously a popular destination for people to our area to come and enjoy the amenities there. So I'm just kind of verbalizing and thinking through the pros and cons.
You haven't done any investigation about what other schools pay per game?
I don't know that it's been rated out at a per game, right?
Yeah.
Our participation numbers are as high, if not higher than everybody. We pay significantly more.
Yeah.
But all of our kids, when they come time for them to show up and be able to bowl, and have an opportunity to get better every day, there's more opportunity for our kids to be able to do that than any of those other programs.
Or per game rate is similar to what other districts are paying?
I can't give you that answer from a per game rate. I can tell you participation numbers and the number of days per week. In comparison, we won more games as far as more practice standpoint.
If I crunch the numbers here, we're paying about $1.75 per game for with the approved, with the proposed new rate. Which is less than I think the going rate of at the bowling alley. I've not stepped into the Kingpin, but what I remember the old bowling alley, when I took my kids there, it was more than $1.75 per game. That said, to contain the costs in the future, it might be one of those things where you may have to look at a policy to limit the number of either participants or the number of games bowled in the hours, so that the community members can fully make use of the facility. It's not the way that Decorah operates its sporting athletic program, so I would not see that as the first option. But if you're looking at double-digit cost increases in the percentage every 3 out of the last 4 years, it might be something to have to consider in the future, unfortunately. But at $1.75 per game, I don't know that they're I think the Kingpin bowling alley is still providing a reasonable per game rate for the students we have participating in that. I'm just walking through the realm of possibilities here for the future, I guess.
Well, the best thing to do would be, if we really wanted to see if we're being treated fairly for per game rate, we probably is ask other districts what they're paying. We've got a beautiful facility, but that'd be something that would probably make sense. Talk to other people in the district and.
I haven't provided those numbers, yeah.
Oh, you do?
I can't be per game, I just know what they total and what their participants are.
Okay. Wouldn't it make sense to break it down as a per game cost?
You need a facility to provide that for you.
Yeah.
To be able to really know that data, which is a whole other layer of research.
Because not every school practices every day.
And I know not every AD is gonna dig find those numbers just for us.
Have we had communication with Kingpin about a multi-year agreement?
Yeah, this one does have, I believe, 2 years on this one. So when that's what I have, so.
Well, one thing I think it's important to note with this fee is, in a sense, well, not in a sense, literally, it's two separate teams. This is covering both boys bowling and girls bowling, each of which has a substantial number of participants.
The environment is, I would emphasize, is great for our very serious bowlers, as well as our not bowlers, to have an opportunity to kind of develop and better. And that is, we want to make sure we have that opportunity for each and every field. A few things under Iowa code, we can't limit participation in the city.
You can't do that.
You cannot do that.
You can't, but you could limit the number of people that travel on road trips, though.
Yeah, you based on availability and some other different pieces and come back to that.
And like I say, that's not the first choice. I don't think anybody wants to, tell a kid no. Because you can never tell where genius is gonna spring from, right? And all children have the ability to learn. Yeah, it's just, they have, I think it's an interesting situation. The bowling facility improved tremendously and is making our bowling better because of the specific lanes that they have provided. These synthetic lanes that are well oiled and so on like that. So you have more interest in participation. You can see that the numbers have almost tripled since the time of its inception in 2016, 2017. And therefore, you're also creating a whole new generation of young bowlers that are going to become adults and want to make use of the facility as well, which increases the competition for the lane space and so on like that. So it's an interesting situation.
When you offer new programming, there's obviously financial considerations that have to be considered.
Yeah.
We are definitely branching to a group of kids and giving them some opportunities that we weren't getting to before. If you look at overall opportunities and what's happening there, it's going to always come at a price, and thankfully in our community, nobody's ever wanted to have a conversation about finding a way with a budget to be able to, we have to eliminate something.
It gives lots of kids opportunity to do something in the winter time. And it's, which is a good thing to keep incentive for continue to go to class, to stay on top of your grades. There's a lot of incentives that come along with that. And I don't mean to squelch that. So the school district certainly does have benefits that come back from having a lot of participation in bowling. It's just when you look at the percentage rate increase that happened recently. It may well be that they're just catching up to where they need to be, based on the improvements that have made 2 years ago. They're all.
Listening, Adam, I think of two things, maybe one you were alluding to. Bowling as an activity, maybe draw some, and you're not, I don't expect you to know this, would you say it draws participants that don't participate at a higher percentage? So it might be the only activity for children where there might be some other sports or fine arts or whatever that would draw.
Say at least a third of our kids, that's maybe only.
They only do. So I think about that. And then I think the other point that you made is if you're gonna have successful programs, it's gonna cost money. And I can tell you the story of Central City Band, where we had like 9 students out, and then we got a new band teacher, and all of a sudden we had 36, and people were excited about band. And then all of a sudden we needed new uniforms, we needed instruments fixed, and it was like, this is gonna cost us a bunch of money to do this, but that's, again, kind of what Don was saying, you want your students to participate and stuff. So it costs money, and that's ultimately a good thing. But that's not to say, I'm not trying to say that this isn't an increase and it isn't money, and just kind of looking at the couple other things to consider.
We just need to be very cognizant going forward, and as we have in the past, but going forward, that we offer probably as many or more extracurricular activities and sporting activities together than probably most schools. And that comes at a price. And it's, you still have to watch each one of those entities and make sure that, you know, we're not overspending and that we can continue to provide that going forward. You know, we've added women's wrestling, ladies wrestling, we've added bowling for both boys and girls. And I know several years ago, or was too many years ago, we were talking about, you know, transportation issues and costs and different things, and, you know, are we gonna have to cut back on some of these things? Well, we haven't, we've added to them, so be cognizant that, you know, we're not overspending, so.
What do ticket sales amount to for bowling? Negligible? Yeah, I mean, a couple thousand. In total, if you look at the girls, so the 2 meets, usually we're anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000, and we'll have that one for the 5 meets.
It's a difficult spectator sport. Mike told me before, yeah. It's not conducive, and our viewing at our bowling alley is better than the other 2 I went to.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it's still not particularly good.
Don't raise the ticket prices too much because it's just parents that are having to make that contribution.
Yeah, people show up in bowling $65 to get in. Might help the seating though.
Yeah. You can better than that. Because then enjoy your life instead of one.
Okay. Anyone wish to offer a motion regarding the
I'll make the motion that we approve the Kingpin Bowling Center agreement that is scheduled to run for the next 2 years. Is that correct? And as included in the agenda. I'll second that motion.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Superintendent's report.
Well, just a couple things that I put in there. We'll look at the Decorah grant, diesel emissions reduction act grant is open, and so we'll work on getting that submitted, and perhaps try to get a couple of propane buses. Talked a little bit about that in the past. Helps immensely that Chris, the mechanic, has worked on propane in the buses in the past, and so he's pretty fired up about that. If you look out the window, our playground, I don't know if we should call it, I think it's the playground surface. I don't want to say turf because that implies that it's that Justin and Adam can go out there and do some pass patterns and dive, and you could, but you wouldn't want to do that 100 times. It's not meant to be a football playing surface. It's meant to be a playground turf surface, but that's looks really well. Justin's been giving me updates because he goes out and talks to the crew, but we're waiting on the striping is the last bit. But when it's been open, we've got students on it, and of course, now we want it to rain. We want it to rain for lots of reasons, but we want it to rain so that we test that out, so.
Justin, has there been feedback from the students?
What is it, what?
Feedback, have the students been playing on the
Oh, yeah.
surface yet?
Yeah, I mean, we just have kids just sit on it. They don't want to sit in the grass. They just love to, literally hanging out.
Okay.
That's what I saw the other day too. They're sitting on the turf.
No, it's been good. We've had everything, multiple sports on there, kids just running around, kids sitting on it, just kind of hanging out off the side, they're just playing with it, so. It's been, it'll be nice to get it finished up hopefully this week here. They just need to steam in the stripes, apparently it's a process, which was new to me, but we'll steam it in and should be ready to go.
All the bags of aggregate across the way, or it looks like there's tons of it over there in pallets. Is that gonna be spread on top of it as well?
So then they'll, I guess the last part, they'll actually spread sand in it on top of it. That's kind of the last piece of the puzzle, so yeah, they're just waiting. They had the stripes, but they had the wrong material, so they had some in stock in Missouri, so hopefully we'll be up here tomorrow. But they'll stitch that in and then put some sand on top. And right now they say we're good to go, like where it's not fenced off, it's all seamed up. He says, oh, you're not dragging something down there, you should be fine, but we won't be doing that, so just kind of wait on those finishing touches.
I don't remember, with this particular turf, is there anything we need to buy to maintain it? Any equipment? I know we talked about that with one of the turf companies we talked to. This one, we don't have.
My knowledge, no. I mean, I guess I double check the check that we did buy. But
That, we did have discussions about that. I with anything, I assume there's gonna be maintenance, but I don't think it's gonna be like in the college, they pull up, they'll vacuum up the black little flecks and put them back in, and we're not to that level, of course.
We don't have to buy another machine, I guess we can.
No Zamboni or anything?
No.
if there is, I'll try it.
I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say, I feel Justin and I will be thumb wrestling over who gets to drive it.
Well, I went over and looked at it and walked around on it. It's really, really, really nice. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Even just a couple of mornings where it was a little just. To be able to stay out of the middle, stay out of the mud is gonna be, I mean, we say that literally 1,000 times. Over the course of a couple of weeks, and I mean, that's probably not facetious, but with our teachers, so just that alone. Keeping our building, or upkeeping the building, keeping mud out of the building, that's not just out of the, natural winter months, that'll just be in itself. But that space will be open, it'll be open longer now in the winter and the winter days where it melts a little sooner, we can get kids out there quicker. It's a nice feature for us, we'll appreciate the support to provide this.
So I've only had one hot day since we've had window air conditioners at John Klein. And it wasn't like cool, but it wasn't climate controlled, but at least it was better than it was outside. I don't know. Rick, I think maybe it got up to 90 that day and you had inside temperatures closer to the upper 70s.
Yeah, I think, and again, it's all still new, but yeah, appreciate everything to support that. But, those exterior rooms, I would say I've got about 4 or 5 gauges in interior rooms. And then those exterior rooms where we've got the AC working, which we've kind of got them all set the same when they're running. And the one day that we had, which was whatever last Monday, or last Tuesday, I guess, was, I would say there's probably a good average 3-degree difference between those rooms, and probably then another roughly 10%. I would say, again, this is one hit wonder stuff, basically, I'm telling you, but probably about 10% difference in that day. Which again, you equate that to the real feel, and that's a world of difference, basically. So it's definitely a lot more tolerable, and we'll take that edge, the definite edge up. Yeah, I hope you don't have a whole lot of other.
Well, by the sheer fact that we got them now it's cooled down.
Okay.
So,
Well, we had to do something. I guess.
They were installed, there were a lot of teachers from there that brought students with the buses and they were all smiles. So it provided a lot of relief.
It'll be hot again next fall.
and
Maybe in the
too.
spring.
And
Yeah, and possibly even this year. The last thing I put in, just to kind of get it back in front of the board, is we'll continue to explore the natural gas energy program. And that's where you enter into agreement with Wood River Energy and you buy your natural gas on contract. There's some advantages, but probably the big advantage to that and why school districts like to go to that is then your natural gas costs become management fund expense rather than a general fund expense. But there's also some real benefits if like, you know, how much it's going to be. And if you don't have to, they tell you what the price is and then that's the price for the whole year. And it has bumped up. I suppose the last thing I put on there is we're doing a district trivia night on the Wednesday, the 20th out at Topland Glide. And Ron has agreed to help me MC. So we're gonna get that organized and we've got 10 teams with about 50 staff signed up to participate. So we're looking forward to that.
When you mentioned on the natural gas buses. Is that something you're gonna start?
Well, we'll apply for the Decorah grant, and if we get one, then we can officially decide, but we'll apply for the grant, because you can't buy the bus, if you don't apply for the grant, you can't get it.
Sure.
So if I remember the last time we qualified for the grant, I think it's like 25 to 30% that they'll reimburse, and so the natural gas buses might be $5,000 to $6,000, and maybe it's gone up a little bit. Maybe they're $10,000 more expensive. So $120,000 bus is $130,000, but then the grant covers that and then some. So then you just have to figure out the logistics of what are you doing for the infrastructure to how you're filling the buses? Are you getting a tank installed out at the bus barn, or are you just doing it with a jobber filler? And so those are details we'll work on as well.
So if we get the grant, can we still deny the grant? I mean, we get offered the grant. or is that-
Yeah. There's a part in there where I'll apply for the grant and then the board has to formally accept it. Yeah.
The question is, do we want to research the total cost of putting in natural gas systems for the buses before we try to save X number of dollars on a bus?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I can get that ready for us next month because the grant's not due until end of November. So it's a process. But yeah, I can get, and depending on what's available, I mean, we installed it at Central City, but we wouldn't have had to because the guy just said, I'll stop out once a week and fill it up for you. Like you could, he filled it up right off his truck, and if you just have two buses, that's a little bit more feasible than like Iowa City or Cedar Rapids or Linmar where their whole fleet is natural gas. But yeah, I can get you those costs.
So if my assumption is if we're gonna look at putting a natural gas bus in, we're not gonna stop at one.
Yeah.
But it's expensive to test the water and see if we want to not like it. So when we were down at AS convention, didn't we hear some negative things about the natural gas buses that surprised us with the fuel mileage? Or
I think it was the infrastructure needed, because I was with you when we had those conversations, and I think it was the infrastructure needed to have, like, basically the refueling cycle. The infrastructure and the services to deliver the gas was the part that they said most school districts did not research and factor into budgeting.
And I'm surely not against them, but they really need to make a lot of sense before we dive into it. We're probably not going to step into it with one bus. We'll probably want to do many. It's not, I know they give.
Yeah, if we do two buses a year, we would probably just say if we could get two propane buses this year. If we got the grant, I can get every cost is gonna be different. we were able to get the tank for like $1 a year rented, so all our big cost was pouring the cement pad and then pulling the bollixes around it, but I can get different options, and if it's gonna be cost prohibitive to do that, then I won't spend time on the grant. So. But yeah, absolutely, you don't wanna do something that's gonna cost a whole bunch of money, for sure.
And I don't recall hearing from any district that had gone to propane and regretted it. Like every, anecdotal story that I've heard is like, yeah, it's what great. The one thing before giving up, why don't you update us on the status of the new office and the move?
Oh, sure. We're gonna start moving stuff out on Friday. And then next week we're gonna move. Darlene and I are gonna have to figure out how to make it, because nomination papers are due on Thursday at 5 p.m. So we're gonna have to figure out how people can still turn in stuff, but we anticipate by the end of next week, everybody having their stuff moved down. Greg's gonna be out next week, so then it's gonna kind of be maybe as we can get stuff moved, but Sean's mostly got his stuff out there. Christy is, I think, ready to go with her stuff, and my stuff isn't gonna be too much. But I think the big filing cabinets and stuff is gonna be Darlene and Kathy's area. So if I remember correctly, Darlene was gonna go first, but we may want to reverse that depending on how long we think it's gonna take. So.
All the painting and such is complete.
Yeah, the painting was done this summer, and we're not taking any walls down. There's some carpet that maybe we want to get an area rug because it had something on it, but we don't have a lot of we're not doing anything else that's gonna be an expenditure or process out there, so it's ready to go. We kind of picked September 15th because we wanted to wait for the car to be done, and if we really sat and thought about when nomination papers, we just don't want somebody to turn in nomination papers to the wrong place, so and rather than say, hey, they're due Friday, if you get, the 14th, they'll be due or the 15th, I guess, at 5:10. And I know Darlene's already told some people I'll be at the new office next week, but we'll have to have a format to take them at both places, I guess.
We've been going back and
Yeah.
forth. We'll have people at both offices that I can communicate with and Bob over if I need to.
Thanks for being flexible.
And also, unfortunately, she's not here tonight, but wanted to thank Lois for her many years of service. John's gotten a card, but she's using her last vacation now.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm sure I will see her at the sporting events, so I can tell her personally, but for me and everyone else, we certainly want to recognize her contributions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see it at least as much of Lowell, not on a day-to-day, but at activities and stuff, and she's helping do the sub-calling this week, and so. But absolutely, happy retirement to Lois.
Okay, well, if you exhausted your list, we'll go to Kathy.
Right now, I'm trying to finish up the CAR. I got to have all your errors done before it roll into your special education supplement, which then goes into your transportation report. So I'm through the errors of the CAR. I'm working on Medicaid salaries because that's part of the SES to help set the Medicaid reimbursement rates. We also ran into an issue last week with the transfer or the takeover or sale of Bank of the West to Bank of Montreal Harris. So Darlene and I spent quite a few hours on the phone trying to make sure that we get our payroll corrected. So it's a go now. Everything seems to be transitioning okay. Working with the banks, trying to make sure that we have more options and we can help our parents that way too. Right now, I haven't taken a look at 23, 24 yet. Just looking at the cash flow. We're down a little bit in revenues compared to last year and just up a little bit in expenditures. Which I know in revenues, some of it is special ed tuition that isn't in there, so. Everything looks comparable.
Our payroll goes to Bank of the West.
Yes. I think we have 9 accounts at Bank of the West.
Yeah.
We have-
The old Bank of the West.
Bank of Montreal Harris. I think we have the activity and nutrition fund. And then we have a savings account for Save at Decorah Bank and Trust. And then there's a savings account both at Current Brothers and at Viking. And then all of our ISDIT accounts. Each fund has an ISDIT account except for activity. Their money market account is that Decorah Bank and Trust.
All right. Well, thank you, Kathy. Seeing nothing more on the agenda, we'll adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And pick up after stuff.
Yes.
We'd like glasses.